slogan of ours is, what does it look like to make history for our club?
The belief is there. Go away and try and get these points and hopefully make the playoff run.
You get a penalty. You get a penalty. Everyone gets a penalty. Feels like we saw that this past weekend. Everyone was getting penalties left and right. Well, you can't say that a dash game can be boring this season. Once again, to another edition for the Orange and Blueprints podcast with right here at the Bayou City Soccer Network. I'm your host, Manny Olivares. Diego, unfortunately, is still recovering from last week. And Diego, you want to explain why you're trying to recover from last weekend?
Oh my goodness! I go as a fan once, and I hear this from Manny every single week. Okay, for all those who do not know, Shell Energy Stadium serves a value meal. With it comes a cheaper option to drink beer for $5, and I had 2 or 3. That is okay because I am what, Manny?
2 or 3.
No, I'm 21. I'm of age.
2 or 3
I'm drinking responsibly, and we are.
I'm joking. I'm just messing with you.
I'm drinking responsibly and having a good time as a fan. And Manny's like, "Ooh, Diego."
Nah, it's like
In his defense, I am naturally clueless. So as he was trying to wave me down and say hi, I was just looking at every part of the stadium except for him. But definitely a lot to talk about. Happy to be back at Shell Energy Stadium. It was a lot of fun. It was great to see the atmosphere. It was so much fun. To start off, Dash fans, they've kind of been showing up. I don't know about you, but I've definitely noted a shift in the culture. Now being there in person for the first game of the season, for me at least, and it's phenomenal to see. Really, it's so good to see the culture shift, people cheering, people being loud, people encouraging these kinds of stuff, and really being friendly and supportive. The section I was in, everybody was so nice. Everybody was really welcoming, and literally it was just me and 3 guys. So it was just we kind of just showed up, and everyone treated us just like right at home. So for Dash fans, props to y'all. Keep showing up the energy. And without further ado, Manny, let's talk about the Goal Fest.
What Goal Fest? You mean Penalty Fest?
That's goals. That's goal.
So it's a penalty fest that happened.
This dude's a hater.
Everyone on Friday night. On Friday night,
Goal Fest,
penalty fest. Now let's talk about this. What happened? This penalty fest. So I think we already knew coming into this game, it's gonna be a greedy match per se, because I feel like Louisville was playing very greedy with a bunch of injuries, with a bunch of players missing. They were going to be different. I think it was just very hard to predict how Louisville was going to be in this game. I think because you see the results, that especially the tie against Washington, that Louisville has something in them, and I feel like they did. But I feel like as we go on to the game, I feel like the Dash controlled the majority of the game. Louisville had some opportunities of counterattack. They had some ball in space, but I think I would say, per se, just viewing the game, the Dash led Louisville in the game. Sadly, that was because of the first penalty conceded by the Dash. Ball was crossed into Avery Patterson. Avery Patterson looked like, I just say her arm was slightly extended out, not very as much, but it hit her hand, so technically it was still a handball. And Taylor Flint converted that penalty, and then just before the halftime, the Dash gets a penalty as well, when Malia Berkeley was fouled inside the box. Um, and then of course, Kate Rader converted that penalty. People was kind of having PTSD. Thought Malia Berkeley was gonna have kicked that penalty again.
Yeah.
I think everyone remembered that time, and that didn't go well. But Kate Rader came in. She converted it. Go um, to the half, 1-1, and then soon as again, out of the gates, the Dash conceded a penalty, conceded a goal by Weber, Sarah Weber, into the box. It was craziness inside the box, and Sarah Weber got happened to have the touch in to make the goal, but you thought that was it, and then within 2 minutes later, Kiki Van Zanten came running to the box. I feel like she just okay, just put power in the shot. Like, let's see where this ball goes, and it goes right in the bottom right corner. 2-2, and you thought, okay, the Dash got this from this point, and then you got Kiki did the exactly same thing. She came to the box, same thing. We're like, okay, we're just gonna do a carbon copy. It worked last time, and it did. 3-2. First time the Dash was leading, and then here comes another penalty. Um, Jane Campbell tackled the I think Sarah Weaver inside the box. I couldn't remember. It was a bunch of chaos, and then VAR came in, deemed it as a penalty. Um, and Taylor Flint again scored, and you thought 81 minute, no way, no way that the Dash was going to come in. And the 98th minute, Kiki Van Zanten was fouled inside the box. Who thought it was going to come up? Everyone thought Kiki was going to take the penalty. No, Sarah Puntigam came in, master, the master penalty taker for Austria. No, comes and converts the penalty. And you thought, why Sarah Puntigam? Just check Sarah's goals for Austria. All her goals were penalties. So, and she mostly converts all of them. So it ended with a 4-3 scoreline. I know it was just a brief review. It was just a lot of chaos. I just want to know, Diego, your your thoughts and feelings about the result overall.
What's going on with these kinds of results? I think, you come into this matchup, you look at kind of the two types of teams that you're kind of facing off in this matchup, and you see teams that like to hustle, teams that have a little bit of grit to them. And Louisville struggling to get goals, and Houston really cementing themselves as more of an offensive threat this season. We'll see if that persists, but in this game, it definitely did. I think, say what you want about it being a penalty fest or a goal fest, but at the end of the day, there are 4 goals in that score sheet, and I think putting yourself in that opportunity to really capitalize on those opportunities, it's phenomenal work. I think to go down early in the first half, immediately equalize, to go up, have to suffer with that, and then again 90+9. Sarah Puntigam, the player that really, I don't know about you, but I've felt rarely gets that call up to really step up as a leader for the Dash, even though she's shown it time and time again in Austria. Um, I mean, she stepped up, she delivered, and it is a storybook performance by her to notch her first goal in NWSL play. I think, being in that game, in that atmosphere, I know you were also there, so you can attest the fact that, for me at least, I could feel the earth move. It was unbelievable. I find it hard to really believe that we've gotten this far into the start of the season and haven't really had too many negatives. Really, if you think about it, going to California, you have Angel City in that 2-minute stretch, but I find it really hard to track down consistent negatives with this team. And obviously, we've played very mixed opponents. We've kind of haven't really seen this Dash team fully tested, but we saw a little bit of that today. We definitely did. And look, if I can wrap it up with a little sentence, Dash fans were prepping to leave Shell Energy Stadium with some inner city blues, but ended up, feeling on top of the world. And I'm sure that, that was certainly a confidence booster for the team. And I think, heading into this small break, I think, what a better way to go off. I mean, it's unbelievable. Great, great, great game for Grit. Great game for Hustle. Apologies if the train is currently sounding, but I'm sure I sound just fine. But I mean, we'll get down to the nitty gritty and the players and kind of like everything that stood out or that we noticed. But unbelievable. I think it's an unbelievable performance. You've known me as the optimist all this time, and I think it really these kinds of things are the proving points of that, and I'm so happy to see at least another step of it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's overall a good performance by the team, a great performance. Another, I think after the Angel City, you thought many would thought, okay, well, this here comes the Dash coming back to their or their real life selves, as in like, it was a good start, and that's pretty much the Dash, what the Dash is gonna do, and they'll come back to reality, come back to be the same old Dash that hangs bottom of the table. And, I think a lot of people, I think national media were mentioning like, well, I never see Houston this way. This is the first time Houston has been this way, as in not only just winning results, but winning convincingly, and also showing the mental grit and everything to get the result past the line.
Yeah.
Many like the commentator even on this game, where this game is like, I forgot who was on the commentator, but I remember hear them saying it's like, well, back in my day, going to Houston was an easy win. It was
Yeah.
an easy 3 points, and it's like, well, I think it just shows the mental shift and the mental abilities for the players, just how much positivity right now. I know if you look at the table, the Dash are fifth place.
Yeah.
Barring they have a game in hand, so basically, they could go up to almost first or second at this point. If they win the game in hand.
Yeah.
Just so basically, it's a good start for the team, but I think. I do have 2 points of maybe nitpicking, you could say per se, about these performances that I see the trend for. Mine is their mental lapse. I think the beginning of second half. It happens already again. Angel City, the reason why they lost that game because the start of second half, uh, they conceded 2 goals within span of 5 minutes. 2 minutes, but within the first 5 minutes of the first half.
Yeah.
And same thing today, same thing this game. Within the first 3 minutes of the second half, they could see the goal. I feel like the Dash are the opposite this year. I feel like last year they were slow to start. They were taking their time. They were trying to fill the game, and then come halftime, they're a different team. They press, they show what they are, and they get the goals and scrappy goals, but they will get either the win or a tie. I feel like this season is a little bit different. I feel like this season they're up for the race, up for the game within the first minutes, but what happens in the second half, they just click off. I feel like they're the opposite. I feel like they did so much good, positive in the first half. By the second half, they click off. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is that something I'm just seeing, or is that something that could be a worrying thought later in the season?
I mean, I think it's a little tough to tell because kind of the style that Louisville were trying to bring into this matchup. It was very gritty, very forward, and you conceded a penalty. I mean, it's different than what happened in Angel City and what happened in California, whereas you get the 2 minutes of brilliance. Really, it was brilliance what happened in Angel City, and I think understanding that as kind of the Dash could have defended much better, but again, there's few things that can stop individual brilliance, and I would like to see this trend continue before hitting the panic button. This is like the fourth time this season I've said before hitting the panic button, but I think it is something to note, especially because you can see the immediate response. Um, in the Angel City game. They fell and they couldn't really get back into the game. You kind of noticed it. They put in their effort, they grinded, but they couldn't get themselves the opportunities outside of a couple Avery Patterson long shots. This is a different game. This is a game where they really put themselves in opportunities to win. And it wasn't until 90+9 where they ended up getting the winner. But that just shows that they're finding small incremental ways to really impact the game in goal scoring. And if this trend continues, yeah, I'll be a little concerned to start a little on the left foot, but remembering that a little bit of our depth is coming back. Lisa Boateng is coming back. Kate Foster is coming back. You might have an update on this, but I'm unclear on whether Fosse is coming back next game, or at least next week for training or something along the lines of that. But there's definitely like cause for a little concern, but I think there's a lot of positives within the Racing Louisville game that I think kind of counteract that.
Yeah, I think I think it's something that just comes in my head when I see it, when I see it pop up, and it's just like, is it a cause for concern? It's maybe like, I think something just to not to get too confident. I feel like in these past two games they were so good at what they do. So I was like, don't want to get in their heads a little bit like, all right, we're doing so great, we're doing so well, but I think sometimes it's just a good sometimes to to get back and to get back on the horse. And now I feel like you can win a game for one, just one, one performance.
Yeah.
You have to win both sides of the game to get the result you need. But I think my other concern as well is maybe that's the striker. Other than
Mm,
Kiki, who's been playing as a striker, play more as a second striker than anything. She was the one that comes late in the box, as you mentioned, both goals. She comes late in the box and has the opportunity to score goals. But yet the main striker, I think as everyone seems like to point out, is other than Mackenzie Robbie, who I think right now, in the lineup it's Fabrice's favorite striker. But you can
yeah.
saw this week, once she's out, think the step down to her to Messiah Bragg, and even at this point, Clarissa Larissi, it's a drastic downgrade to Mackenzie Robbie. I think first we mentioned it before that maybe it's like um give it time, but I think this game, when you needed to hustle, when you needed to grind, I feel like from your strikers, I feel like Messiah Bright wasn't all there clicking. And even when Clarissa Larissi was subbed on, it felt like she didn't really impacted the game that much, because I think it was just only 15 minutes left. Well, 15 minutes plus almost another 10 minutes from added time. So it was very hard for to see her impact in the game. I don't know what you thought for you. You think it is now concerned that basically if no Mackenzie Robbie's on the lineup, basically it's more question marks of, or is it just that until Kate Fasse comes back and maybe have her back in that nine position.
Yeah, I think this is a concern that I'll definitely concede. I'll definitely be just like upfront and honest. I think it is a concern. I outlined last episode before the game that this was really Clarissa Larissy's opportunity to really make an impact and really kind of just like get the ball rolling on the season. And I think that just didn't happen. Granted, it's 15 minutes in late stage of the game where you're
Mhm.
kind of expected to immediately impact the game, and I don't know. That's not the greatest position to put somebody in whenever they have to, get the ball rolling and kind of get the momentum going. But on the other side of the equation, I think that is also the perfect time because you can really like cement like I don't want to say legacy defining moment, but certainly like a moment to really pick yourself up in a huge way. And I think just didn't see enough of that impact in the final third. At least I thought her pressing was great. I thought
Mhm.
Messiah Bright was also pretty solid at pressing. I think that's not an issue from the striker depth, but I think you are definitely right on the lack of goals. To be frank, I think Kiki being placed as a temporary number 9 is going to kind of save us from these kinds of games. But I think when you're up against a lethal offense and an even scarier defense, especially the ones around this league, I think you don't really want to rely on those kinds of late game environments. So I definitely think it is cause for concern. I think Kay Fauste has been doing great. Outside of the injury, I thought she was great. She's really kind of like shaping up to be at least I would label a good backup striker for now. I like Mackenzie Robbie still being our number 1-9. She has speed. She has pressing ability. She has the overall spatial awareness in the box. I think she's a really solid striker, and even if she's going to be with us for, I would say maybe 1 or 2 years, depending on how the project shapes up. But I think having that place where you do sacrifice a little on the youth and kind of go win now, and I think the 9 position is a really really good place to really spend that money and that time. And I think getting Robbie back is going to be pretty valuable. I just think it's a stroke of bad luck again with the Dash missing multiple players in the same position at the same time. We saw that kind of last year with Boateng kind of getting introduced to the team, and then Patterson being called for being hurt. And I think those kinds of situations are always unfortunate, and it's just a shame that it keeps happening to the Dash. I mean, if you're a Dash fan, I mean, it is cause for concern on a depth level.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just on a depth level, it's just very, very, very concerning.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think because if you really think about it, just the way I think maybe that was the idea in the beginning with Kay Fasse when she started with alongside Mackenzie Robbie uh to be that forward, but I think it will become a huge question mark when you have two similar players as Kiki Van Zanten, who's on form, and then Kay Fasse, who is playing almost similar to Kiki, but so you don't have a somewhat to complement each other. Basically, you have two equals, and so it's really concerned at that point. But it's just we'll see how I think just a squad shapes up. I think you still have thankfully you still have another transfer window coming up. You know, basically you only have one game this month, and then boom, you go to May, which is the bulk of your season, this first half, and then 1 week in June, and then from there you see when the transfer window's up in the end of June, and see what improvements they can do, what addition in the striker position. But I think that's right now it's the deer headlights right there when you see other than Mackenzie Robbie, you just pray for Mackenzie Robbie to be fit every game at this point for the team to gel and coordinate. But we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
before before I let you go, uh, before we move on, not let you go. Before we move on,
He
let's
already
talk
wants
about
me out. He's heard my takes for what? It's been 20 minutes and he already wants me out. Unbelievable.
now.
Look at
I think
this.
he's going too fast. We're going too. So how technically 5 games in the season, technically because Dash hasn't played one game, but technically 5 games in the season, Dash sits almost comfortably in the top end of the table. Um, just the way how teams are going this season, uh, these first 5 games, does this give an extra insurance for the Dash to make the playoffs this season?
100%. Yeah, no, 110%. I think if you do what you're supposed to from this point on, the teams that really started slowly, take a Kansas City, they just picked up Temwa Chewinga again, coming off the injury list, and I think a player like her is going to impact
it
impact the
did
league.
this past weekend.
Yeah, impact. And so I think you have those kinds of teams really rebuilding and regaining their strength as the season goes on. Come playoff time, you're going to ask yourself, okay, which teams were able to sneak in wins, which teams were able to sneak in losses during those kind of brief periods. And I think the Dash were able to sneak in a lot of wins. I think obviously this comes with the necessity of consistency. You have to be consistent from now on. You have to, first off, win the games you have to. You have to beat Utah. You have to beat Chicago. You have to beat the lower teams that you're either on their level in the standings or power rankings or whatever. But you also have to take a stab at some of the Giants. Take a stab at KC. Take a stab at a kind of a struggling Orlando team, a Gotham team that has had a little bit of a difficulty playing the Dash. As last year it was a 0-0 draw and a Dash win in New York, as that's a matchup in May. I believe it's May 31st, where Houston will travel to the Empire State or the adjacent of New Jersey. But yeah, so yeah, this is a great insurance, but you have to keep winning games. You have to, in order to use this as insurance, you need to also prevent any accidents. That's why anybody with car insurance doesn't look to get into car accidents shortly after. It's it's a little bit of a bad analogy, but I mean, in order to get that space, you also need to maintain it and make sure it's not used.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good to have, but it shouldn't be the only thing in the arsenal come playoff time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just a good start. I think reason I asked because because the way how teams started this season, like you mentioned, for instance, Orlando Pride, you thought they would come up and still be the same dominant force, but they still a little bit shaky within the first two games, and now they're starting to get back to form. Washington Spirit as well. They didn't win a game until this past weekend against Bay FC, and then Kansas City as well. They only won their first game and lost three straight, and then won again this next game. And even Gotham City, just won their first game. They only have won one game and tied two games. Uh, one against Orlando Prime, but lost to Denver and lost to KC. And then of course you have the teams that were in the playoffs last year. Louisville made the historic run to get the last place for the playoffs, and now they're struggling to find an identity, and so of course, so you're benefiting because the Dash uh did beat one of the big team, San Diego, who's currently first place. So you kind of tip your hat for the Dash for that. You beat a game the first season, and who's currently the first place. So it's a team that worth mentioning. And also, of course, Boston. You beat I think beat a Boston who has zero identity, don't know what they're doing. So you beat a team, and then you beat Angel C. Of course, Angel C against the up in the wall, but you happen to slip that result, and so basically, you I think overall you face two good teams and two bad teams. So the Dash has faced two top teams top on the top of the table and two bottom teams. They haven't faced anyone in between. So it's very interesting coming up these next games because you are facing immediately after the break North Carolina Courage, who is still sitting above the bottom, just barely above the bottom, but we'll see how that goes. And of course, you face another team that's barely above you, which is Seattle, and see how you are stacking it up against them. So it's really gonna be interesting to see where now with the Dash are gonna face now the middle team tables and see either gain some space or lose some space, to see how that goes. But I think it's really interesting moving forward and see what the Dash do from there. So, well, as we mentioned, sadly, there'll be no more Dash games until April the 25th. So, so, so what we're gonna do from here on now? Well, we got a lot of international games. It's about 2 whole weeks, not a week and a half, about 2 whole weeks of international games. So just give us this is a quick recap of everyone who called. From the U20s. Linda Olmark was called for USA. The U23s, we have three. We have Evelina Dujan, Leah Klenke, and Kate Radar. For Evelina for U23 for Sweden, and Leah Klenke and Kate Radar for the U23 for the USA. Now for the senior teams, Jim Kiki got a call up for Jamaica for the World Cup qualifiers, and you got Jane Campbell and Avery Patterson called up for USA uh, for 3 games, which is interesting. And then we got as well Sarah Puntigam as well. So with these games in mind, uh, what games or what players should be we take note of during this international window?
No Kiki, man, to start off. She's been on the form of her life, leading the Golden Boot race right now, and with 4 goals in 4 games, and she's getting the opportunity to step up for her national team. I mean, this is a prime opportunity for you to take the momentum that you did on the club side, feed it into an international perspective, and really come out of it with even more motivation to dominate. You see players all the time coming from the league and then really make an impact internationally, and then it just snowballs into something huge. I'm praying that we see this snowball into something huge for Kiki. I think if this run of form continues, I don't have a problem with the top 5 Dash team. Joey from our BCS fam said the same thing, and this is where I get the take from. But I agree with it wholeheartedly. If Kiki ends up being an MVP type player, which I think she could be, we're a top 5 team. Uh, the Dash are a top 5 team per se. I think we can see it here in Jamaica with the Jamaican national team, and I think that's definitely a player to note. I mean, Jane Campbell making a return to the U.S. national team since, if I remember correctly, the 2023 She Believes Cup, 2024.
I think it was last year.
It was last 2025.
Yeah, there was a time she was played here at home at Challenger Stadium.
It was the Shell Energy She Believes Cup. I just forgot which year that was, but I mean, it's her first call up in a while, in a couple of windows, and I think it's a great opportunity for her to prove herself.
On a side note, listening to national media about the international call up, they say that I don't know if you agree with this or not. One reporter said that Avery Patterson was it was inconsistent with her call ups for USA, that she's been in and out the team. I'm like, she only missed one call up because she was sick. And this reporter called her that she's been in and out of the call up.
Wait, whoa. Are they talking about the She Believes Cup? Or no, the one beforehand, the prep, right?
Yeah, the January camp, yeah. When I heard it when I heard it live, I was jaw dropped. I was like, what? Because you
look.
Well, look, but to give her the reporter props, you do have what's her name? The other left back that plays for the U.S. that plays for Gotham.
Lily Real.
Lily Real, yeah. That I think the way she's playing, she's almost a shoo-in for starting for the U.S. at that
Yeah,
spot.
she's unbelievable. She's
Yeah.
unbelievable, and I've
So
been able to watch
it's-
front row seat. Unbelievable player. Unbelievable player.
yeah.
In my opinion, should have been the player of the game against Orlando, but that is a different team, which we do not cover. So that is neither here nor there. Avery Patterson, I was just more laughing at the overall consensus that Avery isn't a bona fide player on this national team. I think Emma Hayes has gone on record saying how much she loves her, and Patterson is the best player on the dash, and I would label a top 3 defender in the NWSL. It's just bad luck that one of the other 3 is Lily Real. So I think in no universe can I say with confidence that if Lily Real is the starter, Avery should be the backup.
Mm.
And the difference is very slim. There is a difference. I will concede that fact. I'm not going to disregard it. I think Real is incredible, but Avery Patterson is a top 3 defender in this league. I don't want to hear any of it. A top 3 fullback in the league at least, and I would make the argument for top 3 defender. Yeah. Anybody else? The rookies, great opportunity for them to get national team minutes. Was it Cat Raider or was it Olmark?
For what?
For U23.
U23 is Cat Raider
Cat.
and Leah
Okay.
Kinky, and Linda is the U20.
Okay, U20. Okay, that's where I. Yeah, I mean, good opportunity for them to get youth minutes. It's really scary to see pro players younger than me, but we're not going to talk about that. I think Cat Raider is another player that really has an opportunity to continue the momentum that she's on. She's going the Maggie Graham route, which is scoring an unbelievable amount of goals and to start the season. We've seen this from a Duke player. Hopefully she continues it. The only reason why Maggie Graham stopped was because of an ACL injury. ACL, no, or was it meniscus?
It was.
Or was it a broken leg? It was something with her leg. But hopefully that does not repeat, and hopefully Raider is able to have a great season. I mean, we've seen Maggie have a great start to the season as well, so looks like she's not having any issues on that front. But yeah, those are my 3. If I were to name 3 players to note from this dash window, it would definitely be Kiki, Campbell, and Raider. So the 3 have been unbelievable to start off the season, and this is an opportunity for them to keep that momentum. Because the worst thing that you want to happen is that your best player just sits and doesn't play for 2 weeks. So I think it's a good opportunity for the 3 of them to really get games.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just a good. I think the only bad part is I hope that Kiki doesn't get hurt or anything for this international window, but it's good exposure for all the players as well for them to get recognition and everything. So we'll see how that goes for the international window. So from now in this 2.5 weeks that's are left, we're gonna try to track how they do the international window, especially the Avery in the U.S. I think the U.S. is gonna be the really interesting one to see the dynamic of the dash players on that point. But I think everyone else is pretty locked into their and see how they qualify for the World Cup. Next for 2027 in Brazil. So
Brazil.
No, but
Aren't you
everything else.
from Brazil? Aren't you from Brazil?
No.
I can't hear his end. Okay, sorry, you glitched out.
No.
Okay.
Nah. Even though I might pass by one, but nah. But
you speak like 3 different languages on any given moment, and you support 35 billion teams. How am I supposed to know?
it's like 500 languages, to be honest.
English, Spanish, Portuguese.
Keep going, bro.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to name them.
Keep no. Keep. You got this. You got this. You got this.
English, Spanish, Portuguese, French.
Yeah, I do. I just speak a little French. I don't like it though, but it is what it is.
Italian.
Yep.
Mandarin.
Nah, Russian.
You speak Russian?
Yeah, I've dabbled in it a few times, so it's been a long
No
time
way.
I've practiced it, but yeah.
I'm gonna end the list right there because that's already enough for my brain to process. But geez, yeah.
Yep. But
Learning more about our very own Manny Olivares here. 'Cause, geez, I speak at the very most three. The very most three.
the very most is the very ones you need, Diego.
I got English and Spanish, so that's all I need for a resume, to be honest. So that's all I care about. That's all I care about.
But no, but once again, thank you for all for coming in for no audition. Hopefully, we'll see how the international window goes up. Pray for Dash players to not to get injured during this period of time, but we'll see how it goes. We see how everything will go through this international break leading up to uh for the next international for the next game in the 25th April. So thank you for once again for stopping for Orange Blueprints of the Bayou City Soccer Network. I would like to thank everyone for stopping by. If you want to keep looking for us or looking for content, please always look out for Bayou City Soccer. On our website, BayouCitySoccer.net. Also, our social media handle, Bayou City Soccer, Instagram, YouTube, uh, the Twitter, the X, the Threads, the Blue Sky, the TikTok, everywhere. And also want to thank our sponsors, Ugly Guppy, We Got Soccer, and Elotes Bravos. So until next time, folks, thank you for all, and thank you for stopping by.
Peace. Oh, I forgot my camera was up there. Peace.